Hey, RJ. Here, your sentencing's coming up on Monday.
Oh, boy. Here we go. Welcome back. Another episode of Pints and Politics, episode 67.
Yes.
67. You know, in talking about this episode, you know, we're in the rough 60s right now, man, and doing it every other week. We're we are really
trying to find a number,
grinding it out in the high 60s. No comments, please.
That's two more episodes.
Before we get to sort of our weekend review and sort of hot topics, this is the Les Richter episode. And man, I didn't even know who Les Richter was. Folks, NFL Hall of Famer, played for the LA Rams back in 52, like the 50s into the early 60s. Interesting, this guy was drafted by another team, and then before he played, got traded to the LA Rams, and I was shocked to hear for 11 players.
He must have been like the Brock Lesnar in size.
Yeah. This was the original Ricky Williams trade that Mike Ditka, stole from that template. But this guy was a linebacker, a guard, and a place kicker for the LA Rams. So the early days
is all you needed to say.
Right. The early days of the NFL LA Rams. So Les Richter episode. So and also, what's the tasty beverage this week?
Birdsong Brewery.
Yeah, second week in a row, we're going to feature Birdsong Brewing. We're having the jalapeno
Pale Ale.
Pale Ale. Have you had a sip?
I've had a sip. I don't taste the jalapeno as bad.
It's on the back.
Yeah.
And folks, you're going to get live updates. God almighty, Justin Rose just sank up.
He can't go without watching the Ryder Cup, so he's got it going on an iPad over here to the side.
And and
so in the middle of talking, he might just be like, yeah.
Yeah. So I have the Ryder Cup on the iPad playing live as we're playing. Look, it's Ryder Cup weekend. If you can't pull for the USA, even if you don't like golf, you're pulling for our country's best golfers. So, and let's talk about that for a second.
Who is that?
In our last episode, we talked about some of the Charlie Kirk stuff. And so in this episode, I thought it was important while I was down in Columbia, it was either this week or last week, to have Thad Westbrook on. He's the chair of the Board of Trustees at the University of South Carolina. Yep. We wanted to feature the efforts of the flagship university of our state and what they're doing with the advocacy center down there. It's called the Center for American Leadership and Public Discourse. And so they're trying to bring folks who may not agree on politics, but bring them together and respectfully have that public discourse, have those things. And this is sort of segueing from what has the tragedy that happened with Charlie Kirk, right? That's what he was championing. He was literally going to what we would think of as a left-leaning or a liberal college campus.
Which most college campuses are viewed that way.
Yeah, would sit at a table, sit underneath a tent, and prove me wrong, right?
Yeah.
And so in this episode, we're going to be featuring that conversation with Thad Westbrook. And again, thanks for the university for our stomping grounds down there when we have the podcast. The social media lab, is always our studio down there when we go, and so we got to enjoy that and see some of that team.
I always enjoy the social media lab down there.
I know, man. They had the social media stuff, and they were tracking some of the Charlie Kirk. And some of the
words,
because again,
I wonder how much RJ's trending.
I don't know. That's definitely more of a local.
Where they check it.
But the Charlie Kirk thing did, love him, hate him, whatever. But no one wished his death, right? Prior to, but the shocking part was the ugliness that came out of that, of folks who were actually celebrating it.
Yeah,
and so that's why it's important to have conversations and be able to disagree agreeably and respectfully. And just because you and I don't agree on an issue doesn't make you my enemy. Right. And it's too often in the environment of which we now work in politics, that occurs. And folks use dehumanizing language.
Yeah.
When they talk about us.
And everyone wants to get labeled into groups or subgroups.
And so I'm trying to be a little more intentional with my language. And again, in situations where we're talking about a Freedom Caucus founder, pleading guilty to child sex crimes, your passions will go up, right? But it's where we got to be more responsible with that language and not get too rhetorical and too passionate.
No.
And it's hard.
Forget that.
It's hard.
It's somebody that was abusing children.
No. Look,
not somebody saying that. Disagree with me or prove me wrong.
He will be held accountable.
If you're downloading baby rape videos,
hey man,
I got a problem.
No, I have a problem with it.
And sharing them.
And transmitting it, agree.
Yeah.
I have a moral problem with it. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying
I don't have that forgiveness in my heart.
I know. Well, let Jesus work on you. You know. But anyway,
Jesus can forgive them.
So while we're having all these conversations about passionate topics, whether it's R.J. May, child sex abuse material, online safety, or sports, we're all trying to be a little more responsible and kind with our language. And I get,
I mean, don't hate on me just because I'm beating you in the pulling right now.
Actually, Heath had a big weekend last week.
What'd you say? Wagering?
Online sports wagering. I literally had someone, and I can't remember. I think I saw a tweet about somebody criticizing us for talking about what this person thought of us just talking about sports. As an elected official, you have a more responsibility than talking about trivial stuff like sports. And and again, it's bait, right? It's what Nick Saban would call rat poison, and you just got to leave it alone. Because it's like I looked at this tweet and
just tag me in off the top of it next time.
No, but I look at it, I'm like, 2 likes, 0 shares, no comments. And I said, exactly. I'm not going to feed that. That's all this person wants to do. Small people talk about people, big people talk about ideas and those types of things. And so I just left it alone.
And then we just talk about sports.
But and what I mean by that is when we get attacked by Bush League, you want to jump in. You want to get cruel and unkind and disrespectful. But that's what the standard, let's raise the level, right? And that's what sort of I've been taking away from the tragedy of Charlie Kirk. And again, it's hard when events of today.
Hopefully you can continue to be that life preserver and pull me up a little bit sometimes.
So anyway, we're going to be talking about a bunch of stuff today. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about this week in college football, which some people can just turn off.
Yeah. That's the reason it's always at the end.
Yeah, that's right. Important conversations with that. Westbrook will be on. But breaking news out of Columbia today.
Just a few hours ago.
Yeah. The South Carolina Freedom Caucus founder, R.J. May,
the third,
has agreed to plead guilty to 5 counts of child sexual abuse material.
Looking at about 20 years. From my understanding, there was...
So is it your understanding that each count holds 5 to 20?
No.
It's
the
5
entire
to 20
charge
total?
was 5 to 20.
Okay.
From my understanding. And so, but there was no negotiation as far as lowering a sentence offer or anything of that nature. So this is just a straight up plea, which means it will be at the judge's discretion on what the sentence is. And if in the future, let's say the his child that they talked about questioning.
Oh yes, son.
It's not part of the investigation right now, because he was not charged with anything with the child. But if something like that comes out in the future, then he can still be charged,
prosecuted,
and still prosecuted for that.
Yep. And so we don't have to rehash all this stuff for our 2 listeners out there. They're very familiar with what transpired. And again, not to throw more dirt on it. You and I, and the best way to put it is when you and I met him, while there was some things politically we agreed with, is that fair? It was a lot of what we disagreed with was the process of how he wanted to achieve an outcome.
Right.
And folks, that matters.
Yeah.
Okay? It matters how you want to achieve a goal. If you want to lie, cheat, steal, count me out. I would say count you out. And that was always the problem that I had with him. And I know you had some more in-depth personal things because of he ran campaigns.
With him and Elizabeth Enns with my campaign. I mean, I still, to this day, I feel like that if everything was above the board during my race the way it should have been, I might not have had the situation with Gavin happen. But I think some of the rumors and things that they spread during that campaign played a part in it.
Yeah.
I do not like him. Whenever I first met him, I said, look, we got to have a talk because I just want to punch you in the face. So we need to talk, sit down.
Well,
sat down. I agree ideologically with a lot of the things he pushed for.
Right.
And if you look, RJ, like people say, oh, well, they just vote against it because it's the Freedom Caucus. No, I never voted against an RJ amendment because I didn't feel like he was lying to me from the well. Right. But those that lie from the well, then they lose all trust, and then you can't support anything that they're saying because you don't know what's true and what's a lie.
Yeah. And that's how we came up with. And again, I think some of our issues also more had to do with his campaigning and his campaign activities while sitting and being paid by a taxpayer, even though it's not a lot.
Well, I mean, a lot of that strategy that was being played to try and call us rhinos and establishment and all this other crap was being fed by RJ.
Yeah. And so that crossover, we thought there was some commingling of public, his public compensation versus his private compensation from running campaigns. And so that's why we had that amendment to say that you couldn't do that. That if you sit in the body of the House, you can't run House campaigns. You can run Senate campaigns or sheriff's campaigns or dog catcher campaigns.
And it was Freedom Caucus members that stood up and objected to it and wanted it removed.
So again, we found out prior to all of this criminal activity, we thought he was a low character individual, and that's basically the most kind thing we can say.
I never would have thought this.
No.
And there's not. I mean, honestly, I don't think that there's anybody I really think would be capable of this. That's what makes it so shocking.
Yeah. So, I think reporters reached out to both you and I, and I'm sure others, and I think, what is it? He's being sentenced Monday at 2:00 down in Columbia at the federal courthouse. Plan on being there?
No cameras allowed.
You're going to be there?
I do plan on being there because I'll have a DOT insurance ad hoc committee meeting that morning. But I need to make sure I've got to change one of the production teams that I'm working with, make sure I can move that call first.
Okay. I'll check my schedule, but if I can be there, I'll be there as well. So, we'll see what happens. I'm hopeful the judge, I just went back and looked. I believe each count holds a 5 to 20.
Yeah.
And so
it's very possible.
And I remember.
So at minimum, if that's the case, then you're looking at, if the judge went easy, you're looking at 25 years.
Yeah. And that's what.
At maximum 100 years.
If I remember the federal prosecutor, when he was being arraigned for bond, that got denied by the judge. I remember him saying these crimes look like, in totality, bringing somewhere around 20 to 25 years. So, RJ's in what, late 30s?
Maybe, yeah.
So
late 30s, early 40s.
Spending a large portion of his life behind bars. I hope the judge maxes him out.
Yeah.
I know I echo your sentiments. I want to send the message.
Yeah. Go ahead and play that No Limit song again.
and we have, there's another sort of high profile case similar to this, but I think it rises more, not just online, but actual child sex crimes.
And that's a magistrate.
And this is a magistrate judge who has been arrested down in the Low Country, right?
Yeah, I think Charleston.
So
from my understanding, somebody said something about, was he the judge in Dylan Roof case, which I wouldn't think that a magistrate would be part of that.
No.
But
maybe initially before they had
maybe
all the
bond
evidence
or something.
But no, magistrate's not handling criminal court.
Okay.
Yeah, that's small claims crap like, hey, he stole my golf bag.
Typically.
Yeah. I mean, stuff like that. So,
But there are federal magistrates too.
So that's some sort of statewide breaking news. Let's get back to this.
Well, just on that, those CSAM numbers. So this past week, I was in Denver. Or Denver, I was all over Colorado, actually. But I started off in, what's the name of the town? Boulder, Colorado. And that was working with Tim Tebow Foundation and the groups of Christian nonprofits, companies, industries such as transportation, hospitality, all fighting to combat sex trafficking and online exploitation. And I did that, and then I went to University of Denver and spoke at Exodus Road Summit, which was an online digital safety summit.
Okay.
So I was a keynote there. And during that summit, I heard a lot of stats, but one of the stats that shocked me the most, and this was by Thorne, which Thorne provides many of these statistics across the board. And it was also, I think, attributed to the New York Times. They talked about the number of child sex abuse material that has risen since 2001. It was just over 400 images known to be online.
In 2000?
2001.
Okay.
By 2004, it had jumped up to 450,000. Take a wild guess at how many they are saying is online right now.
Does that include morphed images too?
Yeah.
It's infinity.
104 plus million.
Yeah.
As of right now. And if you look at the graph, it is significant with the implementation such as things as social media and certain softwares. But just heard so many horrific stories. And Exodus Road, they have a good program in place trying to educate. Mm-hmm. The founder actually tracks down sex traffickers.
Oh, really?
As well. So it was.
And again, not to use a legal term of entrapment, but does he find folks start having conversations online with people?
No,
meet
so
up,
not online.
Okay,
but what he was in the Philippines. He went over to the Philippines as a missionary.
Okay,
and what he did was he started hearing about sex trafficking coming out of this village.
Okay,
and so he just said somebody's got to do something. And whenever he went to law enforcement, they said the problem is most people that are buying them are white men.
Okay.
And we don't have anyone to go undercover to really do it. So he started volunteering to go undercover with these people.
Really?
Yeah. So he would go undercover, pose as a buyer, and then arrest them and save the girls and boys. But there was just hearing some of those stories are just horrific. And, that's only one of the many groups
that
are fighting it.
And how long was that trip? 4 days?
That was 8 days.
8 days? Yeah. Imagine being in law enforcement. And when I mean law enforcement, I don't just mean your uniform police officers or sheriffs. Think about like your solicitors, right? Imagine being in that world day in and day out.
Yeah, that's the reason our internet crimes against children professionals don't last.
I mean, I wouldn't be able to either.
Yeah. They see so much
just
horrific.
Going to a conference like you went to for a week, I would need a week of self-help and... Well,
the conference was one day.
In church.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, seriously, like, your mind just... Well,
and mentally it messed me up because, we had Charlie Kirk's funeral was going on Friday, or Sunday.
Sunday, yeah.
And I was supposed to fly out on Sunday. I got an invite to go to that, but I'm ready to get home.
Mm-hmm. That's what I mean.
After so much traveling,
and dealing, hearing those traumatic stories, you want to believe in sort of humanity is good.
You want to,
and then you spend 8 days hearing that.
You see, there's a lot of RJs out there.
Yeah, and God,
yeah,
that probably messed with my head for a few days. For sure.
And I hope they start tracking them all down. By the way, my buddy James McGibney started a new show. He's the guy who owns Bullyville. That goes after these people.
I remember, yeah.
But he's taken over the Leanne Remy Scientology spot that used to come on TV where she would always talk about Scientology.
He's got a TV spot.
Yeah. Okay. So he's got a show going after these perverts too.
Really?
So Be interesting. I haven't been able to catch it yet.
That should.
I don't get too much TV.
So when did you get back?
I come back on Sunday night.
No. When did you come back from the Denver?
You
came back that Sunday?
Sunday night.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then DOT modernization Wednesday?
Was that Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Monday, I can't remember. I had a meeting on Monday, and then Tuesday, drove all the way down to Myrtle Beach and back.
Yep.
Come back on Wednesday. What's the day? Friday?
Yeah, right.
My days are messed up. And then I spoke at Riverwalk Academy, my shirt, today.
Yeah.
To 9th through 12th graders.
How'd that go? Good?
Went very well. Actually had a picture sent to me that after I left, and this was at the end of the day, and I left around noon.
Gotcha.
Kids had written on the board things like the less than 3 symbol and tomorrow needs you.
Oh, right.
So it's nice to know that it actually makes a difference.
I was going to say the same thing. As tragic as the loss is to your family, it's got to be inspiring that you're doing good work out of that.
Yeah.
Right? Because even my daughter will come back and say, yeah, Mr. Guffey, Brandon was in so-and-so history class, but he didn't come by and see my class. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, she was a little upset with you because she's like, he knows me and he didn't even come by. And I was like, I know.
I don't even know my schedule, so how am I supposed to know your schedule?
He is such a jerk, Emma.
Nothing but love, Emma.
But no, it is, that's that 9th through 12th grade is a very important time in young people's lives. They're shaping who they're going to be.
That was one of the scary things, too, out of those statistics.
Yeah.
The end of last year, I thought it was shocking that it was 1 out of 17 teens have been a victim of sextortion.
Yeah.
So I said that was 1 in every high school, middle school class. That stat now is 1 in 4.
Well, the more access, the more young people who get on.
1 out of 4, I mean, that 25% of all teens have already been a victim of sextortion. And out of, now I say teens, but those under 18, out of those, 1 of 7 are actually under the age of 12. Think about that.
That's scary.
That's
and
video
gross
games. That's and those were stats just released by Thorne while we were at the conference.
Parents, please be involved with your kids.
Yes.
And again,
have the conversation, because if you think you're too scared to talk to your children about this, imagine how scared they are to talk to you.
Or just make some rules to where it's more convenient for you that your kid is online, right? Like, my child cannot take devices into bedrooms.
No private spaces.
It's kitchen, it's living room, it's things of that nature.
And I think that's one of the best ways to manage.
And I don't care how inconvenient it is for the kid or for the parent. Yep. Just think about, because there are real risks, right? And so, but back to you going and talking to kids, it's great to hear even from my daughter. Like, one thing, and Tad, the producer, and I were talking about this. I think it's great when folks like us, parents, our kids look at us as like we're superheroes sometimes.
Right.
Until they're about 12 or 13 and then teenagers, then we're...
That's the reason I connect with them. I'm just like, hey, I screw up too. Here I am.
But I think it's important that they know that some things scare us. We make mistakes too. We're not so sure about things.
Yeah.
And that makes walls come down. You know what I mean? And they can relate to, like, oh, wait a minute, he's just an older version of me.
Yeah.
Right? Or he or she, mom or dad, used to be just where I was. And now I can relate, and I feel open to talk to them about some of these fears that maybe your children has themselves. But until you put your walls down and take the guards away, they don't know.
And the conversation just makes them think for themselves.
Yeah.
That's what's important.
And this is what I was talking to the producer about earlier was, I hate public speaking. Can't stand it. Like, get anxious. And I don't prepare for speeches either. And so I'm like, okay, 3 things I want to get out of this thing and be done,
Yeah.
And now, don't get me wrong, I can elaborate. And then I start getting comfortable when I'm up there. But pre-public speaking, man, I'm just a mess. And you wouldn't see it. Because my wife even says, because she'll hear me in the privacy of my home, like, "Gah, I don't know what to say at the Miracle Park thing or at my church or whatever it is. And she's like, so you know what you're going to say? I'm like, no. And she was like, it's today.
See, your wife would stress me out.
And so now that's something, now that my daughter, and it's funny how God puts you in things that you're not comfortable with, because my daughter would have never known I had a fear of public speaking, or it just made me anxious. It got my blood pressure up. And when I tell people that, they're like, what? Like, you're in public office. But
we ran without having to give public speeches.
Look, 20,
we had Tab producing videos for us.
20, 30 people, I'm good. I just don't like grand ballrooms and this, that, and the other.
See, I'm better with like
where you can't
300.
See people?
No, I'm better with like 300 plus than I am with like 10, 15.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I struggle with 10, 15 because then I want to talk to each person individually.
Oh, yeah. No, I'm good at like home visits or stuff like that. I'm fine.
Put me in an auditorium. I'm good.
And you know what else I love? I love introducing myself, talking for maybe 5-10 minutes. But then I like having conversations. Like, what y'all want to talk about? Because that is more of just give and take.
Well, and Tag can tell you I was horrible at public speaking.
Yeah.
Like, I would try to sound better. And he's like, yeah, now you sound like you're trying too hard. Like, just be yourself.
But, so that was one of those things where, to segue from what you sort of your educational, that mission part of what you're doing, it makes it relatable. It breaks down some barriers between young people to be able to admit they're scared too, or, hey, adults aren't perfect. You know what I mean? It gets that conversation going.
Well, and that's one of the things I always talk about is grace.
So
it's the one thing that I feel like we're missing.
So thanks for doing that.
I appreciate that.
And by the way, you do have an event coming up.
I do on October the 11th. Yeah, at Hoppin'.
I love that you get Hoppin'.
Yeah. I actually didn't do anything to do with planning with
good venue. I'm hoping for good weather because a good oyster roast where it's a little cool would be nice.
And I think it will be, especially considering they're talking about a hurricane coming soon.
Yeah,
like possibly next week.
Yep. And so, folks, there's tickets available. There is tables available. Maybe check Facebook.
We're going to put a link on the Pints and Politics, and we'll put it on Facebook. But the individual tickets, you'll get a free hopping card where you can fill up, and you'll have unlimited oysters. The only other thing we got to make sure we get is non-alcoholic drinks too for those that don't drink that are attending.
And I got the package where I have my own oyster table. So folks, there are if you like to go to an oyster roast and make sure that no one boxes you out and takes your spot when you go to the bathroom, get this package, okay? Because I love that Guffey thought of guys like me who want to spend money on a good cause, but also I want to have my own knife. I want to have my own towel.
You're going to get a custom engraved shucker that says "shucking for a cause."
That's right. Yeah. So if you're interested, we'll post that link. Get your tickets, get your tables, but make sure you get out and sponsor this great event. I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you for the shout out.
Yeah, man. This episode of Pints of Politics is brought to you by Comer Distributing. Comer Distributing Company is a wholesale beer distributor located in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Founded in 1971, Comer is a family-owned business that distributes beer and other beverages to York, Chester, Fairfield, Lancaster, Kershaw, Lexington, and Richland counties. All right, well, welcome back to Pints and Politics. Again, as promised earlier in the episode, wanted to give you all some special content this episode. We are here at the Social Media Lab, a familiar place for the Pints and Politics crew and show. Wanted to welcome in special guest Thad Westbrook. He is the chair of the Board of Trustees here at the University of South Carolina. As I say, the flagship education institution here of higher learning in the state. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Heath. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here, and thank you for being on campus, and thank you coming to the Social Media Lab.
Absolutely. I thought in the wake of what happened out in Utah with the murder of Charlie Kirk, this was probably a great opportunity for you and I to sit down, talk about some of those issues that not only did Turning Point sort of stand for, but especially what he was about, going to college campuses, giving students and young people that venue to agree to disagree, be respectful, and have that public discourse in a meaningful way.
Yeah. Well, thank you for doing that, and thank you for asking me to be on to talk about it. This is a difficult time for the country and difficult time for universities and higher education right now. When I look at what's happening, particularly with free speech on campus, that's something we've worked on here. We now have a number 22 in the nation ranking with FIRE for free speech here. It's something we take very seriously. And when I was thinking about this, I thought about some historical context. In April of 1963, the University of South Carolina hosted a controversial speaker, someone who, when they landed at the airport, that were met with protesters, signs, yelling, all that. But Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy was coming to campus, where he was very well received on campus. He was here to talk about racial discrimination. And there was some controversy around that at the time. And he spoke on campus to a faculty group. It was in the Pettigrew building, which is our law school, just 2 blocks from here. And he was well received. There were some people who were tense, but he was well received, and it was a peaceful event. 5 months later, on September 11th, 1963, 3 African-American students desegregated the University of South Carolina. So in just a matter of 5 months that year, you had that type of event after a prominent figure speaking on campus. April 2025, Charlie Kirk was on our campus.
That's right, I remember.
A different type of speaker, a different type of format, but he had a peaceful presence here. Students were talking to him about different issues. He was engaging in civil discourse. And then 5 months later, on September 10th, 2025, he's assassinated on a college campus. And it makes me think about where we are as a country, where that type of thing is happening, where much different than 1963, a terrible result, and someone who's engaging in political speech is assassinated. And so when I see what is happening on college campuses and the controversy around, faculty members speaking out, and I think that's kind of where we're going with this. And I look at it, and there are certain things that are just off limits. And if you are speaking where you're inciting violence, glorifying violence, particularly trying to stifle political speech, those things are off limits. And the First Amendment has great protections, but it's not unlimited. And also, being on a college campus, you don't have immunity for everything you do. Now, people who don't like Charlie Kirk or say he is controversial or say some negative things about him, that is protected speech in my mind. But it may be insensitive to bring it up right now, but it's still protected. Right. But at this point, to incite violence and to say that someone who believes what Charlie Kirk believed deserved to be killed, that's a problem.
Yeah, correct. I think, and most recently, and we talked just a little bit offline, prior to us going to record, was just the local experience that our very own Clemson University had. Yeah. And they had a few professors up there. It started with 1, then went to 2, then 3, ultimately where they went out and, crossed a line. And it depends on, there's some varying degree of where that line is. Yeah. But I think it's understood, it's a universal one where you celebrate and then advocate for violence, right? When you call for more assassins, I think that's where that crosses that line. And that's another thing too, when we talk about the First Amendment, which is the first for a reason, right? There's constitutional protections, but then there's also the privilege of working at a university, right?
When you're on a college campus, and particularly in a leadership position like the Board of Trustees, your first decision point is what's best for the students. Our mission is to educate students, to develop knowledge through research, to convey that knowledge to the students, and we're not supposed to be engaging in culture wars or politics. That's not our mission. And so when I look at what happened with those professors, I look at what's best for the students, and think about a student who agrees with Charlie Kirk or has similar beliefs walking into a classroom where their professor just said, you deserve to be assassinated for your beliefs. That is intolerable. You cannot have it, and it's unacceptable. Now, I believe in academic freedom. people need to have their thoughts and the ability to teach different things on campuses. And we, as students, students need to be exposed to a variety of ideas. But to put a student in a situation where a professor believes that what they believe is so wrong that they should be assassinated or killed is completely inappropriate, and it suppresses that student's ability to speak freely in their class and to wonder what's going to happen to them if they were to speak out and express some of these same beliefs. So it's that that context that I look at it. Also, FIRE had a survey they just released a few days ago where they indicated that 1 in 3 students believes it's okay to stop a speaker with violence in certain situations. Completely unacceptable.
Right.
And then if you have instructors who are saying violence is okay, we've got a terrible mess on our hands. So I think it's important that higher ed leaders step up, but being mindful, you don't want to suppress speech or academic freedom on campus, but being mindful that the students come first and protecting students in the classroom is what we need to be focused on.
Right. And here at the university, I mean, this should be a place for an open forum, right? For critical thinking, for discernment, for that discourse, right? Being able to agree to disagree. And just because we disagree doesn't make you my enemy, right? We learned that just around the corner here at the State House, January through July. Well, it's pretty much
every year.
It's pretty much year round, but I think, and that's why I think the events out at Utah State University just weighed heavy on me, not just for the loss of life, but also that is, I think, an insight to the political environment and the public environment where folks are just so willing to jump on and mortally combat one another just because we disagree.
That's what worries me just for the country right now in this moment is the situation where someone was publicly assassinated for political speech while engaging in political speech in front of thousands of people. And that moment is what is scary for the country because it's not only meant to stifle his speech, and of course, this is a tragedy on a very personal level for him and his family, but an effort to stifle his speech, it's also stifling those who agree with him.
Or just dare to disagree, right?
Or dare to disagree.
And it's one of those things, we've had to step up security ever since the events that happened up in Minnesota here earlier this year. Our State House and our speaker has done a good job working with our Sergeant at Arms to take some preventative safety measures just to ensure our safety. Because it's rising to a level that's just worrisome.
And the shootings in Minnesota, same thing. I mean, you just because you disagree with someone politically, you don't go try to kill them. If you don't like speech, and what we do here at the University of South Carolina is you meet it with more speech. So if you disagree with someone, and we want you to go down the hall with a student group, you rent space, you reserve space, and speak out against it. That's how you meet bad speech. You don't resort to violence, and we've had too much of that on college campuses lately throughout the country. And now we've hit the worst of worst.
And I know social media with in this day and time, social media can exacerbate these things rather quickly. Specifically speaking to the events that happened at Clemson, I think they started hitting the airwaves and social media on a Friday. It was at a rabid fever pitch by Saturday morning. I weighed in a little bit because I do think there's a responsibility for leaders to step up and be reasonable and provide that steadfast leadership. I basically just said Clemson should do the right thing, and whether it was get them out of the classroom for now to make sure students feel safe, but ultimately they need to be terminated if those professors were advocating for violence. Man, I caught for folks who, even on the right side of the aisle, I just got bashed left and right about how I wasn't being strong enough in my response. They wanted some of my colleagues in the House were calling for a special session, calling for Speaker Merle Smith to call us back in, spend taxpayer dollars to come down here and totally defund a public university. And I was like, and again, we had a little back and forth with wait a minute, why doesn't Clemson just do the right thing? Why do we need to spend $75,000 taxpayer dollars for all of us to come back? But and again, that kept me busy prior to the game on Saturday evening. But I do think being an elected official, I got to weigh in from time to time. A lot of times, and again, I try to be respectful and kind and treat the person like I'm sitting here talking to you. Where some folks get in a ditch pretty quick.
Well, I don't know what happened in the interim between the events and the decision, but I think the board got to the right decision.
I think ultimately they did as well.
And they had to in that situation. And these are circumstantial. Not every moment, everything that's said is something that has to be dealt with at that level. But at that moment, with the things that I read were said, I think the board got to the right place and they handled it. And I'm sure they'll do a debrief and figure out what happened.
Lessons learned.
Why it took so long. Yeah,
exactly.
Right. This is one of those moments, though, that really has an impression on me and highlights the importance of what we're doing here at the university with our new Center for American Civic Leadership.
Right. And again,
discourse.
I've talked to several folks here at the university about it, and that's what I thought too. I was like, this is a good opportunity that we can, maybe highlight some good things that are happening on our universities, not just here, but around the country. And so why don't you tell our two listeners about the new Center for American Civic Leadership. Talk about how that idea came to manifest itself here on the campus, and where do we go from here?
Yeah, so thank you, because we actually had our launch event on Friday night. So things are going crazy on social media with all this. We had our launch event where we had a conservative faculty member from Princeton named Robbie George, along with Cornell West, a very progressive, liberal faculty member at Union Seminary, which is part of Columbia University.
Okay.
And these are very different individuals who sit down and they demonstrate what civil discourse looks like. And they don't agree on a whole lot of things. Right. But one thing they agreed on is that violence suppressing political speech is always off limits. And what happened was terribly wrong and terrible for the country. So we had that event. Last night we had a event for Constitution Day, talking about the original meaning of the First Amendment. We had a scholar from Emory come in, a guy named John Whitty, who was brilliant. He did that at the law school. But this idea is actually part of a movement that's going on in our country. There are civic centers being formed in institutions of higher learning throughout the country. The first public one was at Arizona State. Okay. And then you've got some in Ohio, Tennessee, Florida, North Carolina, and we're joining that movement. And some of this came out of discussion among university leadership. In March, I actually listened to a podcast where Mitch Daniels was talking about these centers. And he was talking about, boards ought to look into this. So I went to the president. I said, what do you think? And we talked about it, and we talked to the provost. We talked to the dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, got academic leaders involved. He got some faculty members involved. Right. And they said, this is what we need. We need this right now. And this is all before what happened with Charlie Kirk. Right. It's fortuitous that we have this now, because we need centers like this, not only here, but elsewhere across the country, to help do a few things. One, demonstrate what civil discourse looks like, to demonstrate that for young people and to teach them what it's like. I also, part of what got me interested in this was I saw a poll that found that only 45% of young people were extremely or very happy to be an American, or excited about America. It's a terrible number. And I thought, well, this is an existential threat to the future of our country. And our young people need to understand the principles that bind all of us together, those principles found in the founding documents. Yep. We had the REACH Act, thanks to the General Assembly, where we teach a documents course to every student when they come here. But this builds on that and expands greatly the opportunity for us to talk about civil discourse, talk about the founding documents and those principles that bind us together, and then going into what does it mean to be a good citizen? What are the responsibilities and tasks of a good citizen? And so if we're educating our young people on these different topics, then I feel like our country will be better, our state, our community. Laying
a good foundation.
Exactly. This used to be what higher ed used to do. Yeah. And Ron Daniels, the president of Johns Hopkins University, wrote a book about this called What Universities Owe Democracy. And he talks about this in a third of his book, about how we used to do this up until the 60s. Right. And all of a sudden it started changing to civic engagement, but not civic education and learning. And so the University of South Carolina is stepping in to help fill that void. We've been doing some of it. We're about to do a good bit more going forward.
I think that's great. And, and thank you and the university for just having the courage to start having those conversations, right? Because it just seems to me that that 80% of folks that are basically in the middle, whether you're a little left or you're a little right, a lot of times there's some core principles that folks can agree upon. Yeah. And one of those is being able to sit down and respectfully talk about the issues, whether it's hot topics like abortion or whether it's something like, is healthcare a right versus, and so just having some of those conversations are important, but it's also, I think, essential for the next generation, because if you look at the participation of folks who are getting involved just in the process of going and voting in a primary election, especially in our state that leans conservative, I think our primary turnout is around 8%.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's below 10%. And so the last couple of elections, 8 to 10%. So that literally means that 8 or 10% of the electorate is choosing who will lead us, not just on local issues, but on state issues, because a lot of times the Republican's going to win.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's vitally important that we're instilling this foundation to our young people to understand that they got to get involved, they got to participate. And look, I'm not saying you got to attend rallies, but on a couple days out of a year, you need to go vote.
Yeah, that's one of the tasks of citizenship we talk about.
Yeah.
And of course, with my children, 2 of which are old enough to vote, don't start complaining unless you show up and vote.
Yeah, correct.
You need to get out there and exercise your responsibility, whatever way you go. You educate yourself.
Right.
And that's part of this. When we talk about civil discourse, it's important that young people educate themselves about subject matter.
Right.
Not just what they see on social media and in their feed, but educate themselves about the issues, and then engage in critical thinking. That gets lost sometimes.
Right.
And then you make a decision.
Yep.
And at a university environment, you're supposed to be exposed to a variety of ideas, and then let the young people decide for themselves what they believe. You don't impose ideas on them. You encourage them to
novel concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's coming back.
Yeah.
We're helping bring it back with our center.
Yep.
And we're excited about that. And it's a real opportunity for us to have an impact on our state and nationally.
Yeah.
But the idea of studying civic thought, there's so much there that we can work on
100%
to help our country. And we need this type of center now more than ever.
Yeah. Well, while I got you, let's also talk about the accreditation.
Sure.
Because I know that was a major announcement earlier this year. It sort of got glossed over. I don't think it made a lot of noise. It was right after
summertime things.
Yeah, it was exactly. Folks are at the beach and having a good time with family. But let's talk about that, because I did talk to another board member or two about that when it got announced. And so I was like, wow, this is exciting. What does this mean for the university?
Yeah. So we were invited last year to participate in a discussion with other university systems. North Carolina actually made the call. Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Texas A&M.
Okay.
All those systems came together and had a conversation in Washington, D.C. about accreditation and what could be done. And then with the election of a new administration and now an executive order about accreditation, encouraging new accreditors to step forward, the states basically continue conversation in March into the summer, where we said we think accrediting needs to be fixed and really aligned better with institutions like ours. We are large public systems, and right now the accreditors are regional accreditors who are one size fits all. They've got to deal with a community college, to an R1 research institution, to a 4-year comprehensive, a small private. And so what we're looking at is aligning accreditation with what we're doing, with a particular focus on student outcomes. And one reason I know that this is needed and it's going to work is because we've met and at the request of the new president of SAC-COC, our current accreditor, he came over and met with the president and me and said, we're making a bunch of changes. And they actually announced it 2 days ago, some of the changes they're making, and they're looking to align better with publics. to focus more on R1s.
Okay.
To change some of the standards. Right now, the Higher Ed Act has 10 standards that you have to meet for accreditation. And if you go to SAC-COC, there are 109 you have to meet for accreditation. There's another accrediting body that has 175. Now, CPHE, the new accrediting body that we're talking about, is looking at 24, and they put them out to the public and ask for input and to give feedback. And so we are still accredited by SAC-COC. We will continue to be. If CPHE comes together like we think and is approved by the Department of Education, then we'll look at joining CPHE as our accreditor. Right now, we have one person on the board of CPHE that's helping guide the effort to develop new standards and to seek approval. So we are 2 years away until this new accrediting body could even be considered.
When does that come up?
So it goes through a process. Yes, you got to go through 2 years of practicing accreditation, get all your protocols and standards in place. And they've got 10 schools that are asking to be considered for practice accreditation starting this fall, 10 more for next year. And so they've got to do a couple of years of practicing, which will be 20 plus schools, probably more into next year. Then they go to the Department of Education, apply for approval. If approved, then they can then accredit people formally. And this is all done so you can access Title IV funds from the federal government, Pell Grants, federal loans, that kind of thing. So we're 2+ years away, and our next institution, because we're a system, is USC Beaufort. In 2029. That'll be the next time we will look at reaccreditation. And if CPHE is there, then the board will look at and make a decision. We'll get input from our faculty and our administrative leaders and academic leaders, but we will then make a decision about formally joining CPHE as a member. But right now, we're still SAC-COC.
So for the layperson out there and our two listeners, what were some of the frustrations that the university was having, say, in the current model, that it sounds like the current accreditation body is responsive, right?
Yeah. So Dr. Pruitt was very receptive to the concerns and responding, and 2 days ago made it clear they're making changes. One is the accreditation process. They had some mission creep, 109 standards. And
just cumbersome.
Yeah, and just the inefficiency.
Getting into things that weren't really relevant to higher education.
And you think about us, as an R1 flagship university, we get significant oversight from the state financially. And so we don't need as much time on that. A small school, like a Limestone, had a terrible situation. They needed more support working through things financially. So for us, it's not really tailored to what an R1 public would do. There's that part of it. There's some of the involvement of the leadership of SAC-COC and different university level decisions that happen more in other states that probably motivated them more than us. We're looking for alignment and efficiency, some cost savings for us, because your accrediting body is not intended to do 109 different types of things that you need to be worried about. It's really supposed to be focused on those 10 things in the Higher Ed Act. And I think there's some recognition from Dr. Pruitt and SAC-COC on that. And I think they'll be better for that. It's also guiding what CPHE is doing. So it's a variety of issues. And I think each state system has a variety of concerns. North Carolina and Florida are kind of the, really the drivers of a lot of the political concerns. We don't really have those kind of things here. But there was a press conference that Governor DeSantis gave, and I was there. I spoke at the press conference, and that's probably what highlighted some of the concern here, because I actually met with our faculty, a general faculty meeting for over an hour, answering every question they had. And we'll continue a dialogue with the faculty here about this. But they expressed concerns about the politics of it. And that's a fair concern unless you understand what's really supposed to be happening. CPHE as an accreditor is supposed to be apolitical. If there are politics involved in CPHE as an accreditor or any accreditor, they'll fail. So you're not supposed to have politics. It's supposed to be rigorous quality standards, and making sure that you are serving your students, you're protecting academic freedom, You are doing those things financially to shore up and strengthen the university and stay strong. And so it's those kind of things that should be focused on. So if it's a political body, it's a problem.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's where it will go with CPHE. And I think SAC-COC and the other regional accreditors nationally will get better.
Okay. Well, good deal. Thanks for the update on that. One last thing I want to hit you on. Sellers playing on Saturday?
Fingers crossed. I really hope so.
We'll see. All the Gamecock fans out there.
We'll see. Yeah.
Well, thanks for taking the time.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Really appreciate you joining the show, especially on this important topic of free speech. How do we encourage those types of public discourse in a respectful manner here on our college campuses here in the state? So appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Football time.
It's getting close to 5 o'clock, baby.
That it is.
Well, man.
So I'll let you go over the games from last week.
Old Sessions had a big week, 5-0. Last week, it was the we always take Clemson Carolina game, if you haven't figured that out by now, just because I'm a fan of one and you're a fan of the other.
And both of us have been sad this year.
Right. Hey, it's early. It's early. A lot can happen. I remember last year we were like 3-3, and I was like, you know. But
I'd love to have a 500 record.
What are
y'all,
1-3 now? I love it that y'all hit a bump in the road here, and it might be year long. Maybe y'all go 7-5, 8-3, whatever it is. But I think y'all have just been accustomed as fans for a decade.
It's stupid. Everybody wanting to call for Dabo's resignation. I'm like, come on now.
It's classic overreaction. But anyway, last week, Clemson ran up against the perennial blue chip program of the Syracuse Orangemen.
We always have trouble with Syracuse.
It was at your place
Death
too.
Valley, yeah.
And so they got to a big lead. Clemson comes charging back though, scored a late touchdown to go in only down 10. And I'm like, this is just like the Troy game. Y'all have the momentum. Y'all are going to come back and shut them down because y'all do have a defense that can do that. And y'all are going to win.
It's not looking like it this year.
I think that rain delay really messed everybody up because guess what? Half the fans didn't come back.
Yeah.
And man, when you have you lose that home field advantage, folks don't get loud.
Fair weather fans.
Well, it was a lightning delay, but
I know they left because it wasn't fair weather.
Get in the hole. Oh. Thought Scotty almost dropped one in.
He's watching last week's Gamecock game.
Yeah. So anyway, we all saw how that ended up. Syracuse won. You took Clemson to cover the 16.5. Obviously, they didn't.
Yeah.
So South Carolina, at the time we were making the bets, it was. And folks, when we say making the bets, it's just picks.
We're not betting anything.
Yeah,
this is just for bragging rights.
It's bragging rights.
Who can pick the better games.
And so we have fun with each other on Saturday as the games progress. But also, we're also trying to highlight the issue of sports online wagering, right? It's not legal here in South Carolina. I think it should be. North Carolina did it a little over a year ago. They tax online wagering at 18%. It's brought in an additional $131 million in tax revenue. I think that is...
If we're going to lower taxes, that's a good way to do it.
Yeah, exactly. So...
Now, I don't know that we can...
So some of these...
I think a big portion of that $131 million comes from South Carolina.
Hey, again...
So let's just say it's $100 million
We're paying for somebody else's...
Yeah, we're paying for all their stuff.
Tax reductions, yeah. But anyway, so back to the game. South Carolina lost the Missouri game, but was within that 10.5-point spread when we picked them. So we both got that game. Nebraska played Michigan. You took Nebraska. I took Michigan. Michigan prevailed on that over the 1.5.
I thought Nebraska would, being at home, I thought that they would.
Correct.
It was a good game.
That's right.
It wasn't far off.
Oklahoma was given 6.5 to Auburn last week. Great game, but they did cover barely.
Yeah.
And won by a touchdown.
But they lost their quarterback.
Yep. And then Miami to cover. So last week, I literally went 5-0. Went perfect. And I was 7-8 overall, so that put me at 12-8, and you are now at 11-9. So now you are one game behind. You went 3-2.
The first time I've trailed all season.
That's right. That's right.
But I lost. I mean, 3 of my losses have been Clemson.
Homer picks. So yeah, and folks, we like to share.
And I think a couple of them have been USC. So those are the ones I typically get wrong.
Yeah. Well, and we typically like to share some data. I try to find some facts on online sports wagering just to educate the two listeners while we're having fun with making these college
From
picks.
those from my side of Rock Hill, that's online betting.
That's right. And so the one I posted this past week showed the rising demand for legal betting in South Carolina. And literally there's a heat map. And
Charlotte,
focusing
right there.
on York County, this northern panhandle where basically Rock Hill, Fort Mill, Indian Land,
Yeah.
all of the bets that people are using VPNs or
All them Yankees
offshore.
up north of the Mason-Dixon River.
Yeah, that's right. But so, fun fact, 686,000 geolocation checks confirmed by GeoComply during the first 2 weeks. Jack, that's the first 2 weeks of the football season. So 686,000 devices making bets in the first 2 weeks of the NFL season, which is wild.
Our county ain't that large.
And 61,000 mobile sports wagering player accounts identified, and that's South Carolina as a state. But so, folks, it's already happening, and so we're just not taking advantage of making a little bit of tax revenue. And what we've talked about, there's a lot of options that you could use that additional tax revenue for. Pick your passion, right? Whether it's we want to get to zero on the personal income tax, we want to eliminate it. We think this might be a good way to supplement it. Let people who want to gamble online, let them pay for our personal income tax.
Look, I'm good for whatever's going to lower taxes. I think property taxes are a big issue.
So
I'd love to see the implementation there. And some of the things that I've been looking at whenever it comes to property tax, some of the offsets, like, the DOT ad hoc committee, they talked about roads. They were talking about the offset for every $1 that goes into tourism or parks actually saves $3 from the taxpayer because we generate so much revenue from that. It helps keep the taxes low. So whenever people are saying, "Oh, we don't want to fund this park," or "We don't want to fund this," it's like, okay, well, that means your taxes are going to go up.
You understand the implications
$2.
of, right. I do think if you look at the Florida model, they obviously have a huge tourism business that funds a lot of their state's operations.
And they don't have a lot of roads that they handle.
So I think that's something that we could also do is look at how do we let out-of-staters and visitors to our beaches, our lakes, our parks, and our great cities around the state. How do we shift some of the tax burden to folks who visit our state?
I'm more of on the libertarian side, and I think that it's beneficial to have consumption-based tax.
Right.
However, where it hurts are the counties that don't have a lot. The counties that have been poorly managed. Primarily our blue counties throughout the state.
Rural.
Blue, yeah. But they're the ones that are not bringing a lot of people in, not bringing in tourism. People aren't stopping there to get gas on the way. They don't have the money there to begin with, so they're not investing money.
Well, and
it hurts.
And in a lot of what you're considering a blue county, I'm
just looking at,
and I said rural.
Yeah.
And again, I'm saying that tongue in cheek. When I say rural, I notice that in parts of the state that I work in, rural communities don't also have the resources to employ town personnel, county personnel that we enjoy here in York County. We have a great, like Rock Hill, city staff. Now again,
and Rock Hill technically is blue.
Their Parks and Rec
old school,
is fantastic.
Yeah,
and they got it. The city of Rock Hill did a great job of getting in early on amateur sports, travel league ball.
We're number one in the state.
Yeah, and Myrtle Beach is chasing.
Myrtle Beach is second though,
a distant second.
Already.
But so what? All I mean by that is because they have a tax base, Rock Hill chose a lane. They said they wanted sports tourism, and it has been a boon for this local economy.
And that's been one of the things, like whenever our freshman year, we had the BMX World Finals. And in the budget, it was like $500,000. I think that was put in, and people were fussing, saying, y'all are investing into BMX bikes and all this other stuff. No, that generated $6 million in tax revenue for our area, which keeps our taxes down.
Yeah. And so, but again, that does take a little bit of risk, right? Whether it's political risk or economic risk, whatever lane you're in. But there is a return on investment where it comes to things that maybe aren't core functions of government, right? And again, I'm not suggesting go out and fund every arts project or every park and rec project. We're not suggesting that, but it is for those elected officials, whether it be city, county, or state, to work as a team to make these wise choices, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what's great
I mean,
about.
we can choose not to.
Yeah.
But if we continue to get the services that we have, we're going to have to fund them.
Correct.
And this is just a unique way to fund them.
Yeah. And like I said, I just think
at a small portion of the cost.
Yeah. And we're learning a lot in that DOT ad hoc committee as far as the funding mechanisms of, how local revenues go down the state, then gets kicked back to counties, funding formulas, which tries to keep in mind rural counties, blue counties, and red or urban counties.
It was so much simpler whenever each senator was responsible for one county. I wonder if that will go back and get changed.
Yeah.
Since all of these line drawing and them saying that it was unfair. Yeah, I mean, because this state would surely be better and more evenly represented
if it
was the same way our federal Senate is.
Yeah, right.
Senate
folks,
represents.
Y'all just thought you were going to get some college picks.
Yeah.
And you're getting all this knowledge.
We spread off.
All right, so this week, first game, Kentucky is visiting Columbia, South Carolina. South Carolina is giving 5.5. Look, I'm just looking objectively.
Go ahead and say it.
I'm looking objectively at this. I'm a huge Gamecock fan. This is one of those games. We've got LSU next weekend.
He's a huge cock, but
I'm
just
not
has no
saying
faith.
It's a trap game, but it has the markings of a trap game. And just based on the games that I've seen South Carolina play, which is all of them, I'm just not confident in South Carolina winning by a touchdown. I think it's more of South Carolina eking out a victory with a field goal.
Is it going to end up being another night game?
It is. Starts at 7:45.
Yeah.
Are you going?
No.
Oh, that's right.
We gave our tickets away.
So I'm going to, again, I hope I'm wrong here. I'm going to take Kentucky and the 5.5. I think South Carolina wins 24-20 and gets out of, goes to LSU.
I'm taking South Carolina.
Okay.
Even though they always let me down whenever I pick them.
Oh, man.
But
all right.
I'm going South Carolina. I think with Lenore's back, you'll see a different
team. And he's playing
team.
his rear off.
Yeah, the problem is he's running for his life.
Yeah.
There is no blocking right now.
I know, man. I don't know how we can incorporate.
I mean, there's no run game. Y'all are, negative?
Look, we know we have a leaky offensive line. Bro, get it out of his hands fast.
Yeah.
Quick slants.
A little bit of pro reads.
Move the pocket, bubble screens, let him through, and let the back slip behind the rush.
Well, I mean,
I don't know.
Didn't y'all have negative rushing yards?
Yes, -9.
Yeah.
I've never seen. Well, I don't think I've ever seen that
for the
before.
entire game.
For the entire game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of
so that tells you about how your line. And Clemson's the one that moved a wide receiver to running back, not
Right.
South Carolina.
All right, game number 2. We got Bama going into Athens, Georgia. Georgia is given 2.5. Who you got?
Oh, I'm going Bulldogs.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Hey, I think Bama learned their lesson in week 1, got embarrassed by FSU.
Yeah, but they're going to Athens. You can't go between the hedges and think that you're just going to walk out with a win.
I don't know, man. I know it's an SEC road game and it's a pretty dumb pick, but I'm going to take it. Roll Tide.
Okay.
All right, game number 3. A Big Ten matchup, which is going to sound crazy when I say the teams. Oregon playing Penn State. I've been to Happy Valley. I was actually there the first Joe Paterno-less game when Nebraska came to Penn State.
Who was that, Sandusky?
He got
that
fired.
invited you?
It just so happened that's the way. I had a buddy who went there to school, and we said, let's meet for a game, and that's the one he picked, man.
Your buddy,
and who knew?
Your buddy Sandusky was like, hey, come on up.
God, it's RJ's buddy. Anyway, all right, Oregon at Penn State.
Yeah.
Who you taking?
I'm taking Penn State, Nittany Lions. I was a Blair Thomas fan back in the day.
Yeah. So Penn State, I neglected to say this. Penn State is giving 3.5 points. They are at home. That crowd's going to be wild. But I am going to take the visiting Ducks.
I mean, I haven't liked the Mighty Ducks since they fired Emilio Estevez.
All
We're
right.
going with the Nittany Lions.
All right. Game number 4, LSU visiting Ole Miss.
Man.
Ole Miss is giving 1.5. We're both going, go Tigers.
Man, I got to take them LSU, man.
I know,
LSU,
man.
they're going to run it up, man. I don't know what. That was my best Cajun.
Yeah, that's right. And then last game 5, another Big Ten game. Ohio State visiting the Washington Huskies out in Seattle.
Number 1 versus unranked.
Ohio
But
State is giving 9.5 to
Yeah.
the home team. What you think?
I'm doing Ohio State.
I am too.
Look, they have shown us who they are.
I think Ohio
Week
State
in, week
is one
out.
of the stronger teams
Yes.
in college football right now. So
It will be a good matchup to see Texas and Ohio State play again.
yeah, so it looks like we agree on the LSU, the Ohio State game. The other 3 were all on the opposite. So room for you to take the lead back this week.
Yep.
Hopefully, I will prevail again.
Or
But we'll see.
Or would we just tie? We'd be tied then, wouldn't we?
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks again for our sponsor, Comer Distributing, for providing the tasty beverage this
I'm
week.
gonna tell Chip you win against the Gamecocks.
Jalapeno Pale Ale. It's a unique taste in beer. It's good body and all that kind of stuff, but it's got that jalapeno aftertaste, which was, like I said, unique for me.
Yes.
I could
Made me feel like my heartburn medicine isn't working. It's that, that constant little
bring your
twing.
Tums. Yep, but thanks again, Comer Distributing, for supplying the tasty beverage. Let folks know how they can.
Please visit, follow our videos, our reels. Every time that you do, it's increasing our viewership. Visit pintsandpolitics.show, and that way you can click which platform that you listen to. And if you cut it off for the sports, at least just skip through and fast forward it to the end. Because a complete play actually gives us more credit than cutting it off in the middle.
That's right.
So, but we appreciate your support, especially during the off season.
Yeah.
And for those that don't like us talking about football, I mean, that's it.
All right, y'all have a good week.